when I was talking to all my clients, they were so much more emotional than I was. Like they would call me like, "What do you think it's going to be tomorrow?" And like I'll call back tomorrow, and then if it's this and that, and like they're panicking and they want me to like calm them down with like, it's like, man, like dude, like it's not that serious. Like, just buy a little bit and put it away, and buy a little bit and put it away. Trying to guess what tomorrow's going to do is going to drive you crazy.
You're just too tense, man. A little tense. You gotta loosen up. You know?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, not everything has to be so serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, you can relax, you know? You're awesome. Enjoy being who you are. Live in the now. Embrace that shit.
You think
Yeah.
about food in the supermarkets, but what about meds in the pharmacy?
Pills. Okay. Pills are good. Pills are good.
Hey guys, Ralph here from the Endgame Investor, and today I've got the Silver Slayer on the line with me. And I've never had him on the show before, so welcome. And thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's good to be here.
Yeah, no problem. I didn't know much about your content before today. I've seen you here and there on YouTube and stuff, and heard you're opining on different subjects. But I took a look at your channel today, and I found out that tomorrow's your birthday, right? You're 34.
Today, yeah, today
Today.
actually is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Slayer.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
34.
and you said, you don't have to get into anything personal, obviously, but you said that this was a very important year for you. You learned some important stuff. It was
Yeah.
difficult, but you got through some. It sounded like some kind of adversity. Nothing. You don't have to get into any detail, but what'd you learn? Can you teach us something?
Yeah. Well, I can't get too deep into it, but basically, I just got full custody of my daughter, but the mother um, kind of just dipped out and blocked me, and I didn't see my daughter for like 5 months, and I didn't know, if I was ever going to see my daughter again because there was nothing like legally binding us. So like for 5 months, I'm like, I'm not, the mother's gone, and I'm just trying to sit here and put on a smile on YouTube, and it was really hard. But I ended up getting full custody now, so it kind of all came back around. But yeah, that was hard. Just the patience, the learning how to accept things and just not get overly emotional or respond aggressively, kind of just step back and do it the mature way. But yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's pretty intense.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I mean, I have 5 kids, thank God. And I can't imagine being in that kind of situation. But
yeah,
good luck, good job keeping your cool. And we have a saying in Hebrew, lahavdil. It means it's very different but similar. In terms of gold and silver being in a severe correction, you'd say. Keeping our cool on that is
yep,
just as important for financial and monetary reasons.
yes,
So I'm sure it helped with that. And I
yeah,
remember the years in 2015 when I had just gotten into gold and silver in 2010, right? I didn't make any
okay.
serious purchases until 2012, but I still had to go through the bear market, and it was really, really tough. But now,
Then
like,
the $50,
yeah,
then in 2011, going through that,
yeah,
that was probably interesting. But
yeah. So it was
uh,
it was an emotional roller coaster, but compared to then, now it's been a big correction. But really, it's been nothing for me more than just mildly annoying. Like I don't like it when gold and silver go down, but it's nowhere near the sweaty, heart palpitating fear and panic that I felt in 2015 that I had to swallow. You know?
yeah, yeah, like, well, one thing, last year, silver at this time was what? Like half of what it is now? Like, so even if you just step back and look a year ago, like last year, if you would have told someone next year silver's going to be at $59 on July 21st, 2026, you'd be like, what? That's amazing. But since we got desensitized to $121 in January, you're looking at it from a negative point of view. But really, if you step back and just look at things realistically, I mean, the majority of silver's price since I've been stacking has been like $15. Like I remember we celebrated when silver broke above $20 in July of 2016. Like, so these prices, it's annoying, especially for the people that bought at 121. So now they see, a lot of people got in then. But as long as you just remember silver's true value and the dollar's true value, I think we'll be okay. So,
Yeah, well, the way I put it is you just have to realize you have to internalize the fact that it's money. And in my monetary eschatology, I guess you could call it, this is all going to go away. And in the end, all purchasing power, all liquidity is going to go back into gold and silver as it was when it began. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about on your latest video. You were talking about gold in Fort Knox. And I'm
Yeah,
not sure what conclusion you got to, or if anyone can really get to a conclusion as to what's there, because it's impossible to really know.
yeah,
But my contention is that Besant is lying, but not about whether the gold is there. I'm assuming it is, and I could be wrong about that. But what he's lying about, and this might surprise you, at least in my opinion, is that he's lying about the dollar not being backed by gold. The dollar, in my opinion, and I'll explain it, it'll take a minute to explain it, and you might agree if you the dollar is by definition whatever is on the other side of the balance sheet that is the dollar, right? What
right,
the Fed manages the dollar. That's its liability note. What is it a liability for? Well, definitionally, it's a liability for everything that the Fed buys with its dollars, right? So you have the dollar and then you have the asset. The dollar is the liability side. The asset side
right.
is let's say a little bit of gold that's in Fort Knox plus like a whole beep load
Yeah,
of
and
debt,
everything else.
right?
Yeah,
And everything else.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
So the way I see it, and this is the way that I don't know if you're familiar with him, Daniel Oliver, Burr Capital. He's like the guy that I look up to most in terms of
okay,
gold and silver analysis. Uh, he basically says like, well, what's a gold standard? What does backed by gold even mean? And functionally, it would mean that the value of the gold on the Fed's balance sheet backs all of its other liabilities on the balance sheet by 100%. And so that's the math that we were at in 1980, right? The value of the gold at market value on the Fed's balance sheet balanced in the balance sheet all the other liabilities on the balance sheet. So in that way of thinking, the dollar really is backed by gold, even if it's not redeemable. If the value of the bonds go down that are backing the dollar because the balance sheet is mostly debt, if the value of those things go down, then the value of gold has to go up to balance it out. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at an end game of much higher interest rates, much lower bonds, much higher gold. And if the gold is there in Fort Knox, then anyone who owns a dollar owns that share of that gold. Just like if you own a share of a company, you own the share of that
right,
company, right? Uh, and if the value of the bonds go down, the value of the debt, the gold goes up, and then you're obviously owning a smaller and smaller share of that gold if you own dollars. But if you just own the gold, then you own the gold, right? It's much easier to do.
yeah.
So what's your opinion, or how do you see the whole Fort Knox thing? Do you really think there's no gold there? Because if there isn't, I think that would be great, because then the government would have less power in the end, and I want them to have as little power as possible.
Oh, you do? Okay, we could get into a lot of stuff. But I think at the end of well, okay, so this all started on July 18th. Scott Bessent came out and said, there's all the gold's there, even though the last audit was in 1953. I think there was another one like the 70s, but they didn't actually go through and count it all, which, counting 147, million ounces of gold would take a while. But when he said that, he obviously then said the thing you're mentioning. He was like, he also kind of threw in like, but the dollar's not backed by it. But I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I think the truth is never so black and white. I'm sure there's some gold there. I don't know if it's all there, but I'm sure there is a lot that we sold off as IOUs and everything. So I think there's probably a little bit of truth in both sides. I have no idea, but that's what I think. I doubt all 147 million ounces are there. I don't know if it could be zero, but I don't know. It's all speculation. So yeah,
Would you rather it be there or not? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that's such a deep question because
I'm sorry,
I don't know.
sometimes I'm
Yeah,
too
yeah.
deep.
Deep. Deep. Deeper and deeper. Way down.
Yeah, I don't like thinking about that on the spot because I would have to like sit down and think about so many different things. But honestly, at the end of the day, the dollar's lost 98% of its purchasing power. It's going to go to 99%. It's going to go to 100%. You know, every fiat-based system lasts around a century. The dollar will take a little longer because it's the world's reserve currency, which is actually, you know, with de-dollarization going on, it's slowly fading away its status. But you know, gold and silver hold its value over time. The dollar will die at the end. Gold and silver will come out on top. So, yeah.
So what you were talking about with silver that we got used to $121, or we just got mental. I wouldn't say got used to it because it was only a few days, but
Yeah.
our expectations shifted once we saw those numbers.
Yes.
If you look at the chart of silver versus stocks, actually, going from the 1970s to now, right? If you look at that ratio, you look at it in 1980, it's like the graph goes like this. It's like 1970, 1980, and then a huge thing, and then it just goes down, 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 down. And then the recent spike to 121 was like whoop, and then it goes like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I mean, what we're really looking at in terms of silver's purchasing power is not even in terms of dollars. It's you measure somebody's silver stacks versus somebody who just bought the S&P 500 since
Yeah.
1970, and silver is not doing well at all, even if it hits 120, or stays there. It would have to go to something like $700 to be even anywhere near where it was in the late 70s. Do you, is that what you were seeing? How do you see this whole thing developing? Do you see an end game like I do, or do you see just a slow decline? And how do you see the end? How do you see people behaving in an end game where the dollar doesn't work anymore?
I think there would have to be some type of reset. But I actually showed this chart the other day. I might be able to pull it up. I don't know if I could screen share, but it's $100 in 1964 versus a 1 ounce silver coin. So like if you just put $100 away and set it aside, and then put a 1 ounce silver coin aside, um, from 1964 to now, the 1 ounce silver coin has appreciated like 5,766%, but the $100 bills lost 90.5% of its purchasing power. You know, so I kind of look at it from a perspective of, you know, where gold and silver is like putting your money in a time capsule, essentially. Now, of course, you know, the S&P and other things, that's why I like diversifying, you know. I think putting all your eggs in one basket's dangerous, but I still say like if you can't hold it, you don't own it. Like the physical precious metals, the intrinsic value of silver being the most highly conductive metal, you know, for thermal conductivity, light sensitivity, and you know, electrical conductivity. And I think that's really what's important here is the value inside of the coin, not the dollar amount attached to it or anything. But if I do see, of course, like what you're saying, silver would have to go substantially higher to compete with some of these other things. So,
How did
yeah,
you personally come to that conclusion? Because especially in this generation, it's hard to break away from the distractions of tech and us
I
being
know.
obsessed with our own creations. And oh, look, we came up with Bitcoin. We're such geniuses, and that's going to change humanity, and all these other fantasies. And then it kind like what do you think it is about you or about us that we look at silver and we're like, no, no, it's still that, and everyone laughs at us, and we're still, no, no, we're pretty
Yeah,
confident in what we're saying. Where does that come from?
yeah. I think just understanding the true value of silver, like just genuinely, you know, understanding that. And I guess like I did get into Bitcoin in like 2015 when it was like 800 bucks. I got into Bitcoin back then, and a lot of my channel actually started talking about that stuff. And I would make videos like how to safely buy Bitcoin and store it in a cold wallet. And my audience actually started like getting mad at me. They're like, "Hey, you're switching up." Me, when I see something interesting, I dive into it 100%. I learn all about it, and I like teaching people stuff. But then I started realizing, you know, like I need to get back to my roots. This is going against everything that I talk about. You know, there's still potential there with Bitcoin. Like there's only 21 million Bitcoin and 20 million or 19 million have already been, you know, mined. We could go into that, but I definitely see the safest investment is physical precious metals, you know. So, yeah.
So you're saying your audience kind of saves you from a monetary what do you call it? I know the word in Aramaic, but I'm losing the English or Greek, apicorsis. Heresy, right? What we would call it. But then again, isn't that a lot of people think that's a shortcoming in our movement because we sort of see this as a religious thing, which I have to admit, like partly I do. Not in terms of like ascribing godly powers to gold or silver or anything, but I do tie together moral compass and humanity's dealing with scarcity in the world, right? With sound money, right?
Mm,
If we keep inflating, that gives an illusion of a lack of scarcity, right? If you think about what zero interest rates are, if you're on a planet with zero interest rates, the implication of that is that everyone's immortal, right? Because if you have
yeah.
no time preference, then ergo you live forever. And if everyone acts like they can live forever, even though they know they can't, but if they're acting like it because the money supply is fooling them into zero interest rate reality, then you're going to become an immoral society. It's going to happen. So in that sense, I ascribe religious meaning to this whole movement that we're part of in terms of getting humanity back into balance. And I see inflation as the core problem to everything can be traced back to it. All the insanity that's going on, all the broken families, all the insane education, all of the problems with the medical system that we saw during COVID, everything can all be traced back to that. Where do you fit in on that perspective?
Yeah. I honestly like what you just said, that sentence or what I could break that down on like a 15-minute video on my channel. You just said so much good stuff that I want to go off of that's like, man, I mean, I've done a lot of interviews over the past 6 years, but the way you look at this is amazing. I was about to say beautiful. It really is. Like it's deeper than just getting rich, you know. It's deeper than all of that stuff. Like looking at it from more of a moral compass is amazing. I love that's like kind of what I do, you know, like my book is called Silver. I don't care about books. I'm just making a point here. It's called Silver's the New Gold, but the subtitle is Divorcing the Dollar That's Designed to Enslave You, right? Trying to teach people how to take back control of their wealth and put it into you know, and or take your money out of a system that's, you know, controlling you. But the like how many times is silver mentioned in the Bible? Like 5,000 times or something like that. Like it's God's money. And I don't think that anything else, like we're talking about elements on the periodic table here. Like silver can purify water. Like think about that. The most pure thing on the earth is water. Silver purifies that. You know, like that's crazy to think about. And this is in the whole universe. We're not just talking about just like silver is the most highly conductive metal in the whole universe as far as we know, and there's only so much of it. Like that right there is like it means a lot to me. Like it's like I see it as like a magical metal. Like back in the day they thought silver was magical, like some, you know, because it responds to other elements on the periodic table like nothing else. It purifies water, you know, it has antimicrobial properties and kills bacteria. You put milk, a silver milk keeps the milk fresher longer. I don't really recommend that, but you know, it's more than just like numbers and silver does this and the graph is here. You know, it's much deeper than that. And I'm cool. It's cool that you see that too.
Yeah, so tell us about the book. I just want to know what is what's the finish you're trying to make? What's the new idea you're trying to introduce? Silver's the new gold. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, silver being, you know, having a lot more potential and worth and value. You know, gold, it's stored in vaults and goes around your neck and kind of wear it. You know, it's kind of like it looks cool, where silver has a lot more real world use than gold does. And that's why the gold to silver ratio for thousands of years has been so much lower. Actually, the earliest one I found was 2.5 to 1. It was 2.5 parts silver equals 1 part gold. And that was like, I don't know how long ago, but yeah, I just tried to I guess, educate people on silver isn't just valuable because it's shiny, and it's not just valuable comparing it to what gold to how gold moves. There's much more to it than gold, and people peg silver's potential to looking at gold, like, interest rates and all this, the dollar index. It's like there's a whole other thing with silver that it has going for it. It hasn't happened yet, but I do think silver will eventually take on a life of its own. But my book, it's not very long. I think it's like 21 chapters, but I just tried to get the meat and potatoes of like, what is silver? How to safely buy it? Because when I first started my channel, I wasn't really into industrial stuff and all that. I would just watch silver unboxing videos on YouTube, and like, I just would unbox silver my own. I did a lot of unboxings and different coins, and so I made a lot of videos like coins versus bars, or best silver to buy in 2017, or bullion versus numismatics. And so I got really deep into like that, and how to buy and how to sell and all that. So the book kind of starts off like my journey of how I found it, what makes it valuable, how to buy, how to selling and all that. And then it goes a little deeper
Deeper and deeper, way down.
into the end part of even like the military's involvement with silver and price manipulation. And but yeah, so it's just a quick book for someone to understand why I stack silver.
Do you think that we're going back to 15 to 1, or what's your goal when you decide, or you see, okay, well, the dollar has collapsed and we're now in a new regime here? Do you see it as a 15 to 1 ratio? Do you see it as people just don't use the dollar anymore and we're trading around coins? How do you think this plays out in your head?
There's a couple different directions. Like you could think of like the SHTF prepper as like, we're
Mhm.
gonna go to this like doomsday and we're trading and bartering with like, fractional silver and bars and shotguns and all that. I don't think that's really gonna happen. But that's a lot of preppers do stack silver. Um, but I think it would be, I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I mean, the ratio technically should be like 7 to 1 because that's what it comes out of the Earth's crust. But I don't know. I think gold has a lot of potential too. So I don't know about a gold to silver ratio going back down that low. I mean, it should, but will it? I don't know.
I don't see 7 to 1. And
Right.
I don't think, I'm not saying it's not relevant, the amount that comes out of the crust, but just because the amounts are that way doesn't mean that the market will value it that way. Or
Yeah.
else it doesn't only have to do with supply.
Right. Right.
But I've looked at the gold to silver ratio many times, and every time that there is a monetary panic, we go back down to 15 to 1. The way that I see it is, look, the dollar used to be a silver derivative because it started as a receipt for silver, right? And
Yeah.
then in 1873, it was changed to gold, and we got rid of the silver standard. We moved to a gold standard. And now most people see that as benign or some kind of a technical move, just to make things easier. But what it really was a giant wealth transfer, because who had more silver? It was the poor and the middle class used silver, and the rich used gold. So since people use dollars mostly, and the dollar was the exchange mechanism through which gold and silver were being traded. If you change this standard to gold, then you move all the purchasing power of the silver into gold, because there's going to be a whole lot of gold demanded to back those dollars. So it was
Hmm.
a very early wealth transfer from the middle class and poor to the wealthy, which is how they always do it, which is how every inflationary process plays out. It's a wealth transfer from the small to the big, and it just keeps getting worse. So, I mean, to finish that point, since the dollar is on a was on a gold standard, and I think it's still on a gold standard. It's just a hidden gold standard, like just piled on by a bunch of debt crap on top of it, right? Wipe away the debt, and you're back on the gold standard. It has nothing to do with exchange. It
Right.
has little to do with exchangeability. But if we are in a place where the gold derivative no longer works, which is the dollar, because so much debt has poisoned it, then the only thing you can go back to on retail amounts of trade is silver itself because the dollar doesn't work at all. And then when you have that, then you go back to that 15-to-1 ratio because the monetary demand for silver just explodes because the gold derivative doesn't work at all. What else are you going to do to buy a sandwich, right? You can't use a gold coin and you can't use a
Right.
dollar. So what are you
That's
going to do?
huge.
You're going to use a dime.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Man, I love your outlook. Like you break things down and you explain it in a very understandable way as well. And a lot different than a lot of people I talk to. It's really cool. What do you think about 1933 with the Executive Order 6102 by FDR and all that, confiscating everyone's gold?
I didn't like it.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't around back then. But well, it really wasn't an executive. It was technically an executive order, but um, the glue that held the country together was much stronger back then. People,
Mm,
as different as they were
mm.
from one another, the country still kind of loved each other and believed in its Americanness, whereas that cement is being washed away
Oh yeah.
these days. So I mean, that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a bad thing because obviously it breaks apart the nation and then it makes a lot of things a lot more volatile socially. But it's a good thing in that, let's say, if Trump were, or let's just say any kind of hated presidential figure, and any president that's elected in the U.S. is going to be hated by half the country, who it doesn't
Oh
matter
yeah.
who it is.
Of course.
So if any president were to issue an executive order confiscating people's gold or silver now, nobody would listen. And
That's yeah.
yeah, so the worse they get, the more powerful they get, the less powerful they get. So it's a self-correcting negative feedback loop of power. And when they get too powerful and they ultimately lose everything, and that creates social unrest, but it also allows a nation to restart and rethink its values while going through the whole detox of inflation, which means the most insane of us. They lose their meds literally. They can't get their amphetamines or whatever else they're on, and which is a sizable amount of the population. So this all these things scare me. I look at as all the people that are on these mind-altering substances, and we don't know what's going to happen when they can't get them anymore because supply chains break down. Like you think
Yeah.
about food in the supermarkets, but what about meds in the pharmacy?
Pills. Okay. Pills are good. Pills are good.
You have all these things coming together, and I try to stay calm about it, which is why I live in a very
Yeah.
small town.
It's it's hard, man. It's hard. Like it's really hard to stay calm about all of it. Um, but you said something very interesting with the gold standard, and that is interesting to think about how the country's a lot stronger back then, and how that could actually be like a double-edged sword. Um, I think if there was, well, also the $10,000 fine, how much is that in today's standards, you know? So, because there was if you broke this law or whatever, it's a $10,000 fine or 10 years imprisonment or both, which back $10,000 in 1933 is a lot of money, you know? And then the following year, they had Executive Order 6814, which confiscated everyone's silver. And that's the one I focus a
Wait,
lot
that was
on.
that was after the confiscation of gold?
Yeah, 1934, the following year, he did the same thing with silver, Executive Order 6814. A lot of people don't know about that one.
Wow, I didn't even
Um,
know about that. I didn't know about that.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I've talked about this in like real time, like, nowadays, like if there was a silver confiscation, what would that look like? And would people actually listen? A lot of my audience, they like comment down below, oh, I had a boating accident and lost all my silver, in the bottom of the ocean and stuff. But I don't think people would listen either. But it is interesting because every time there has been a confiscation is in times of war and economic turmoil. Because like I made a video going back all the times that countries have confiscated the people's gold. I mean, it used to be pretty barbaric back in the day, but every time it's, during war or economic uncertainty, and that's kind of what we're in right now. So,
Yeah, well, the original silver confiscation story, yeah?
what? What
Joseph,
is it?
the Joseph
Oh, okay.
story.
Okay. No, can you tell me, please?
Well, Joseph in the Bible, he takes over the Egyptian government and he monopolizes the food supply. And then there's a 7 year famine because Pharaoh had a prophecy that there was going to be 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine. Joseph interprets the dream for him. It's in the musical. It's also in the book, but and he appoints him head of the country. He monopolizes the food supply, and then when they don't have any food, he sells them food for all the silver, and the country runs out of silver in like 2 years, and then they're all slaves to
Wow.
Pharaoh. So, who enslaved Egypt? It was Joseph, and then they turned around on the Israelites and enslaved them, and that from there comes the whole Exodus story. But it starts with silver. Everything does.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
Deep. Deep.
So, what do you think about? Do you think that this is silver's bottom?
Of course. But maybe,
All I know is my gut says maybe.
maybe if touching a nut kills you, you're supposed to die.
I don't know. I hope it is. I've been saying it. There are signs that it is. But the way that I survive emotionally through these periods, and I try to stay relevant and stay in my own, stay in my head and stay level, right?
Hmm.
Is that I don't take my own prognostications that seriously, and I just try to be ready for if it is and if it isn't. Like I say to myself, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? To my positions, well, let's say silver just like, because we've seen this before, it just like totally sells off like 50% in 5 or 6 days or something. We've seen that before. We saw it in 2020. We saw it after 2011. These things happen.
Hmm.
So I said, well, if that happens, well, how much cash do I want in order to not panic? And so
Hmm.
that's the level of cash that I have, dollar cash. And if silver goes from, let's say today 58 to like tomorrow 200 in some kind of panic, well, how much silver do I want in order to say, oh my, I missed it, I got FOMO, and then I put everything in a panic. So I don't want to do that either. So how much silver do I have today in order to not panic if that happens? And that's how much silver I have. And then I play around with my thoughts, but I think the key is to just not take your own predictions too seriously because really we're just one human being in a humongous market
Yep.
of like 7 billion people, and we're trying to figure out what's going to happen. None of us have any idea.
Exactly. Exactly. I always talk about that, the unknown variables. Like you could try to predict this and this and this, but like a wrench is going to get thrown in, will get thrown in that messes everything up, that nobody could see. But yeah, I try to say like invest with your head, not your heart. But I mean, panic selling is very real. Impulse buying is very real, but I think it is smart to just accept both ways. I think it's a really good way to look at it. Like for me, even if silver's down, I just say, okay, I can get more for cheaper now. If it goes up, okay, good. Like I see a lot of people though that get really scared because like I was a broker for Andy Scheckman in 2024, which I'm taking calls all day long. It was overwhelming. I'm a YouTuber. I'm not, but
Mhm.
but when I was talking to all my clients, they were so much more emotional than I was. Like they would call me like, "What do you think is going to be tomorrow?" And like I'll call back tomorrow, and then if it's this and that, and like they're panicking and they want me to like calm them down with like, it's like, man, like dude, like it's not that serious. Like, just buy a little bit and put it away and buy a little bit and put it away. Trying to guess what tomorrow is going to do is going to drive you crazy.
You're just too tense, man. A little tense. You gotta loosen up. You know?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, not everything has to be so serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, you can relax. You're awesome. Enjoy being who you are. Live in the now. Embrace that shit.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
But
If that's your clientele, you can tell that we're in a little bit of a mania and things have got to calm down.
yeah.
But what I tell I guess my clients are really just the people that subscribe to my blog, because I'm a writer. I'm not like a salesman. I just
Oh,
try to
that's
put
cool.
I
Yeah.
just try to put ideas in a way that I understand them, and then hopefully other people just read my thoughts. That's
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah, I
that's
didn't
my
like
marketing
that.
strategy.
That's why I stopped being a broker. I didn't like selling, because a lot of times if I knew cheaper places, I'd rather just tell my subscribers, like, don't buy from me, just go here. But, so I didn't like it. I'm not a car salesman type of guy either. But yeah.
I think in the bottom line, it comes down to, if you understand that silver is money, then you're using your dollars to accumulate silver. You can do that wisely, and you can do that stupidly. I mean, but bottom
Mm,
line, if that's what you're trying to do, you'll probably okay. Whereas if you're using silver to accumulate more dollars, you could do that wisely and stupidly also, but eventually you'll screw up if that's your angle,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's not a get rich quick scheme at all. And if you're doing it for that reason, it's very contradictive. Like I've asked people, what are they going to do, with this? Like, are they going to sell someday? A lot of them are going to pass it down to their kids and grandkids. Like, a lot of people say that. But those that are going to sell, I like asking them, like, what price would you sell at? Like, if you had a magical number, like, do you know what price you would throw in the towel at? Like, have you ever thought about that? And most people haven't. I think that's important to think about, because if you are ready to sell and you're trying to think of this on the spot when emotions are high, you're probably going to do something stupid. So think about that, way beforehand, if you are someone that is planning on selling someday.
So I'll close with this thought, and then you can close with your own. So if you're going to ask me that question, what would I sell at? I don't have a dollar amount. What I
Mm,
do have is, if we're around 15 to 1 gold to silver, um, and that could be whatever dollar amount it happens to be, it doesn't make a difference. But if we're around there, I know that we're in a monetary panic. And if we're in a monetary panic, that means that the entire economic system of hundreds of millions, billions of people is desperately asking for liquidity to keep the capital system alive that feeds all of us. So if the economic system is that desperate for liquidity, because dollars don't work, and therefore if dollars don't work, no other currency works, because every other currency is a derivative of the dollar because it's the reserve currency, right? This is the
right.
pyramid. Then if the world is so desperate for liquidity, who am I to hoard my silver? I need to spend. And yes, that will happen to make me rich in a whole bunch of property and whatever it is that I buy. But really, it's our responsibility as stackers for when this happens and the desperation for liquidity becomes so extreme, to just send it out there and buy whatever is available just to keep the economic system going. And that's our responsibility. And it just happens to have a side effect of making us rich, which, okay, whatever.
Mm, hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I like that perspective a lot. It is a side effect. Um, but yeah, I guess for me, I never thought of it about like comparing it to the gold to silver ratio more so than a dollar amount. But I think that is very smart. I don't know what I couldn't even imagine. I think it would have to depend on the time. Like during that time of silver's at like $300, like what is everything looking like? Do I think it's going to go higher? But then there's that speculation again, trying to time the market. So I don't know. I mean, I'm 34, so I don't plan if I ever was going to sell for like 20, 30 years. So that's not even a thought that's relevant right now. But
Mhm.
yeah.
So yeah, so swinging this back to your daughter, the last thing I'll say is, I'm glad you're back in contact with your daughter again. That's the most important thing. And in my experience, paying my kids with silver dimes and quarters has really helped them understand what value is. And I think last year my oldest daughter came back from camp, and she was given $50 at this, I think it was Hershey Park in Pennsylvania.
Oh, I've been there.
All the kids were given $50. So my daughter decided that, for snacks and whatever she wanted to buy in the park, right? So she was the only one who decided to buy nothing, and she didn't eat anything. She fasted the whole day because she wanted to keep the $50 and get silver with it from me.
That is
When she came back home, I
awesome.
was like, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you! Wow,
That
okay."
is awesome.
So it can it
Yeah.
can it can really it can really give your kids a head start.
Yeah. That's how I started. My grandpa every year for Christmas would give me like some type of constitutional silver, and like that planted the seed at an early age. And like back then, I thought it was the coolest thing ever, like treasure, and that's why my book came out on Christmas Day, because it was every year for Christmas when my grandpa would do that, which planted the seed. So yeah, I do that for my daughter as well, so yeah, I think that's important. I think it's very important lesson as a parent to pass it down as early as possible.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah,
It was
same.
really it was good to meet you, and I'm sure we'll have it again. Maybe when silver is $200-300, or the gold to silver ratio is 15-1 if the internet still works. I'll give you a call.
Yeah, sounds good. It was good talking to you too.
All right. Check out Silver Slayer. Link in the description below or in the pinned comment, and I'll see you guys on the next whatever it is that I do on the channel.
Check, please.